Pardoe's Perky Peanuts. We're in Montandon, Pennsylvania, a tiny village in Northumberland County, just east of Lewisburg and south of Milton, Pennsylvania. My name is Chris Schmouder, and before we go on the tour of the facility, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the history of the company. It's a second-generation, family-owned company, started by George and Ellen Pardoe in 1959. As the history kind of goes, George and Ellen ran a snack food distribution business, and at one point ran out of a supply for peanuts. So George went to work making his own peanuts, and they started packing them in little 1-ounce bags. We still have one of those employees still working for us today. She's about a 50-year employee for the company, and Peanut Pack and Peg is what we call her, and she still helps us out from now and then. Pardoe's Perky Peanuts was incorporated in 1959 by George and Ellen Pardoe, and at the time they only distributed peanuts through their own distribution system. In 1987, the peanut business was separated from the distribution business by their son Carl Pardoe and moved to this location on Center Street. From there, they've grown from just 3 employees to over 30 now, and we distribute throughout the United States. Let's take a tour of the facility. All of our peanuts come in 2,000-pound super sacks. They come in out of the shell, out of the skin, and out of what they call the red skin. They call it a blanched peanut. It's actually not soaked like you would think, like pasta is blanched or something like that. It's a dry blanching process. They come in. We only use Virginia-style peanuts, which is the best tasting snacking peanut there is. Mostly for our straight peanut products, we use what they call an extra large size. For our trail mixes, we might use a medium peanut as well. We also only use peanuts that are grown in the Virginia-Carolina area. All of our contracts stipulate that. We find that is the best tasting peanut, and one of the things we prefer to use is the best tasting ingredients we can find. We try to domestically source all of our ingredients. All of our almonds are all California almonds. They come in 50-pound boxes, and unfortunately cashews only come from tropical regions. Brazil, Indonesia, India, and Vietnam tend to be the biggest suppliers. These are some Indian cashews that we use. All of them have great flavor, and we try to use the best quality ingredients we can. The peanuts are emptied through the bottom of the 2,000-pound super sack. They fill up this hopper. We can hold about 2.5 totes of peanuts into this hopper. During the course of a day, on a good day, we can run anywhere from 22 to 24,000 pounds of peanuts through this process. So we'll use anywhere from 11 to 12 totes a day. The peanuts are fed through a vibratory system that comes down in, fills the basket up, shuts off at a certain point so that we get a consistent amount of somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 pounds of peanuts in each basket. That way we can keep a consistent weight in there. That way our fry times stay consistent and the peanuts are roasted evenly. The peanuts are roasted in a custom-built fry system, which is built to duplicate the basically a small French fryer type restaurant fryer, the way the business originally started. So they work with some engineers from Lehigh to build this custom design to exactly replicate that process, and it gives it a consistent flavor in the batch process. It's kind of an artisan style approach opposed to some of the typical peanut companies that use a continuous oil roaster to roast their nuts. It's almost kind of like cooking kettle potato chips. We make sure we constantly stir the nuts to make sure they're evenly roasted and maintain that great flavor. One of the things about our fry system, which is very nice, is we have a built-in filtration system that constantly circulates the peanut oil. We only roast in pure peanut oil to give our nuts the best flavor. It costs more than most people use cottonseed or vegetable oil. It costs more than that, but we feel the peanut oil gives a much more intense flavor to the nuts. The filtration system helps keep the free fatty acids low, which keeps the oil quality very high and doesn't give you that burnt taste that you can get from bad oil. The peanuts come out of the fryer, they go onto a vibration table, which then slopes down, so we try and recover as much of the peanut oil that is on the peanuts as possible. basket of nuts is then put up onto the, we call it the dump table, where the gets tilted forward here, the front end opens up, and then the nuts go into the hopper, where they'll go down onto the salting conveyor. Obviously, get salt put on them, and it's one of the things we really monitor, because we can use different types of salt. For cashews, you'll use a real fine cashew salt. It sticks to the cashews better. For peanuts, we use what's called a dendritic salt. That's a little bit coarser of a salt. And at the same time, we watch the amount of salt put on. For our trail mixes, we won't use as much salt because we don't want to overpower the nuts and the chocolates and things that are in there. For a straight nut, obviously you're going to have a little bit more salt on it. The salt applicator provides a consistent layer of salt, and it looks like it's only putting them on the top, but as they go through the vibratory conveyor and onto the cooling conveyor, the salt actually mixes around quite a bit, and it's tough to see coming out of there. It's a very fine mist of salt that comes out there, and it's all based on time and speed to get that right level. The peanuts come through the cooling room, where we keep it at a constant 60 degrees. What a lot of people don't realize is peanuts and nuts in general really hold their temperature. So if you do not get them cooled down quickly, they're going to continue to cook and get too brown and taste burnt. So we get them into this room as quickly as possible. So on the cooling conveyor, we have 3 huge fans which blow cooling air from the ceiling down onto the conveyor and cool these nuts down, where they go from being about 250 degrees when they come out of the fryer to down to about 75 degrees at the end of the cooling conveyor in a matter of a minute or so. The nuts come off the cooling conveyor and down a chute into a storage tub that's lined with a food grade liner. Then they're sealed up and kept until we're ready to package them on the packaging line. Once the peanuts are out, they're used up within about an hour every day to keep them as fresh as possible and get them sealed into a bag. As you can see, we try and keep as many whole peanuts as possible in that and make sure it's a good looking product for our customers as well. The peanuts are dumped into the hopper, then they go through a bucket conveyor up to the top of the platform, where they run through what they call a combination scale that weighs out each individual bag of product. The peanuts come up the bucket elevator, down the chute, onto the combination scale. In this case, we're running a 15-ounce package, so each one of these buckets, every second, is weighing out a combination of 15 ounces. The machine knows to get it as close as possible. That way you're not wasting product. At the same time, you're giving what's on the package as far as the label declaration and weight. It's a form, fill, and seal package, meaning the film comes through the machine, it's wrapped around the former, the back is sealed with a bar heat sealer, the jaws come up, they form the top of the bottom bag, the bottom of the top bag. The product is then dropped down into the formed bag, and the jaws come up again, forming the top of the bag that was just filled in the bottom of the next bag to give you an airtight seal. After the bags are sealed, they come up the conveyor onto metal detection, where each bag is individually metal detected to make sure there's no foreign material in there, and then packed for distribution to the customer. When we do trail mixes, all the ingredients are weighed out individually, then they're dumped into a tumbler and mixed all around. That way we get a solid mixture coming out of nice tasting trail mix. This is what we call our savory and tart mix, which has a nice mix of peanuts, cashews, almonds, white chocolate, dark chocolate, peanut butter, chips, golden raisins, and cranberries. So it's a pretty tasty mix. how we process the sourdough, hard pretzel, broken pretzel pieces. All of our pretzels come from Pennsylvania manufacturers. We have several of them depending on which final product we're making. They prefer a certain type of pretzel, but it's all Pennsylvania Dutch sourdough hard pretzels. This is what we call the pretzel breaker, which is one of only two that we know of in existence. Pretzels come through the conveyor, they go through two separate paddles, get broken into pieces. On the end of the line then here, they go through a sifter, and the sifter sifts out any extra salt or little pieces of pretzel that might be too small to be packaged, and they're put into a tub, and then they'll go into the batching process for the sourdough pretzels. The canola oil is weighed out into batches. They weigh out the dry ingredients as well. So we mix canola oil with seasonings or whatever other dry ingredients go into flavoring the sourdough pretzel, and then they're put into an industrial blender and mixed together to form a slurry. The slurry is then placed into the tumbler with the sourdough pretzels and mixed together to get them nicely coated in an even flavor. The slurry comes out of the mixer, it's nice and thick, but at the same time, it gives a nice even coating to the pretzels. Pretzels get dumped into the tumbler. They do it in two different sets. They do one set of pretzels, then a set of slurry, then another tub of pretzels, and then another bucket of slurry. That way the slurry gets a little more distributed during the start, and then it evenly distributes throughout the tumbling process. When we're running the pretzels during the course of a day, we can run upwards of about 10,000 pounds of pretzels through the process on any day. After the pretzels are tumbled, they have a nice even coating coming out. They have that real nice shiny look to them, nice golden color with the honey mustard. You can see what we're looking for is not to have a lot of white showing. So that means we got a nice even coating, and every pretzel is going to have a lot of honey mustard and onion flavor to it. Now that they're in the bin, they'll go over, we'll put them into cake pans, and we'll put them in the ovens to dry. The pretzels are put into the cake pans and then evenly dispersed so that we dry them. All we're really looking to do, we're not looking to dry or to bake the pretzels anymore. We're just looking to dry the coating onto the pretzel so it absorbs into especially the white part. The flavor doesn't really absorb into the hard shell of the sourdough pretzel. It gets into the inner part of the pretzel, and that's where all the flavor is. So we're just looking to dry that flavor and have that oil soak up into the pretzel itself. After the pretzels are dried, they're put onto a cooling rack. We want to get them down to about 75 degrees. That way they're not still warm when you put them into the package. If they're still warm when you put them into the package, you can get some steam and get some oxidation in there. We don't want that. So we want the pretzel to be nice and cool and then packed, and they're as fresh as can be going to the customer. On the tour, we saw the form, fill, and seal packaging. One of the other types of packaging that we offer is what they call a pre-made pouch, which is sealed and then nitrogen flushed for freshness. One nice thing about it, it's also resealable. It's one of the real common types of packaging you see in the grocery stores right now. About a year ago, we came out with this new line of pouches with the covered bridge, which is local here. It's about 1.5 miles down the road. It's called Rishel Bridge. Depending on who you talk to, it's either the oldest or the second oldest standing covered bridge still in use in the United States today. And we thought it was a great symbol of our